Alrighty, welcome back to the Farm to Film podcast, where I come from a farm and now I'm making films. And I am here with a very impressive man, my good friend, John Redlinger. John, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me, Derek.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for your talents, your friendship, your passion, your kindness. John is a very talented director, actor, producer. You do many things, and you took a little bit of a backseat here on this project to help support me, which I'm very grateful for because this thing would have been a lot harder without you. So thank you for being my assistant director for Snatched.
It was absolutely my pleasure and my honor. And obviously, you and I have known each other through the event world for I feel like quite some time. I'm ashamed to admit how much time, perhaps, just because I think both of us would prefer that we'd been spending our time doing more creative things. But
Yeah.
you're an incredible person. You've always had amazing ideas and amazing integrity. And when this project, came to me by way of you, it was like one of those undeniable opportunities. Like, okay, I'd be happy to hold the boom pole.
Mm.
And your passion for it, your drive, the story, which I think when we initially talked about it, it was still being developed as a feature film, which I hope is still being developed as a feature film.
It is.
Um, it
Indeed.
just feels like something that the market wants and that I wanted to be a part of. So it was, it was a no-brainer for me.
I love it. It's very kind words. Thank you, John. Yeah, as you mentioned, we have known each other through the catering
Yeah.
world, which has been a great side hustle for a lot of creatives. And we work for a great company with like a lot of really talented actors and other creative individuals. And so yeah, it's been a pleasure to work with you and to know you for just a few years. Uh,
Well, but
um,
to your point though, I think that I teach as well as all those other things that you mentioned. And a question I frequently get is like, how do you hang in there during the doldrums, or what's the key
mm,
to longevity? And for me, it's sort of twofold. One is you have to make your own stuff. You have to be
yep.
able, whether you're an actor or a director or a producer or a musician, whatever it is, you have to be generating your own stuff, even if it's not making you, buku dollars. Like you have to be in the driver's seat of telling your own story so that you're not at the whims of the industry, agents, managers, whatever. You have to be able to sort of go, this is my true north, and I can get back to that. That's number one. Number two is community. You have
Hmm.
to have community. You have to have people in your life who will hold you accountable, who will support your victories, who will hold your feet to the fire when you have a goal. And, that was something with Snatched. It was like you would check in every so often and go, okay, here's where we're at with this. And yeah, I'm making the proof of concept. Would you read the script? And I mean, that sort of give and take of ideas is something that's really special. And I've met so many good people through side hustles that
Yeah.
everybody, everybody, everybody has a dream. And the more people you have around you who want to see you succeed, the more likely you are to succeed or to at least fail spectacularly and learn something valuable.
Very well said. And I think too for me there's this so I mean you have only so much control in this industry, and as
Yeah,
you said, like you can't just sit around and wait for someone to give you an opportunity. You got to make that for yourself because in those downtimes you need to stay motivated because otherwise you just quit, you give up, you go home. And it's so important for me to this podcast has been really helpful because it gives me something sort of every week to like think creatively, to think about, oh, what am I doing this week to move forward in this process in my career, and reconnecting with other artists I think helps motivate me to do that as well.
100%. And it's
Yeah.
so easy to get lost in the weeds when it's just you.
Hmm.
Uh, I forget who said it, but an incredible writer at a talk at the DGA said the best day of writing is the best day of your life because it's the blank page and it's you and your ideas, and there's no limits. You want to write about dragons and knights, you can do that. Car chases, you can do that. Other worlds, you can do that. The worst day of your life is the next day when you read what you wrote and you start tearing yourself apart. Oh, that dialogue is horrible. I'm not interested in this. I don't know anything about dragons, whatever it is. And when you're stuck staring at the problem with no perspective, whether it is your career, whether it is a project you're working on, whether it's a goal that you can't achieve, you we're our own worst critics. So to have that perspective, to have people to bounce ideas off of, to have not distractions, but just sort of like bolstered creativity through other people is I have found it to be the thing that has gotten me through every little low point. And there have been many. There have been many.
Yeah,
But
as we've all
the
experienced.
just the practice of being creative, like the weekly
Mhm.
or daily practice of doing something for yourself that is not business related. Yes, that stuff's important. That stuff is totally important. But like you have to be fulfilled creatively to keep going. Otherwise, it just turns into a job. And if it turns into a job, there's a lot easier jobs out there to
Mhm.
make more money with less effort. I think we do this
Yeah,
because at some point early on, a spark was lit, and we're all like, you're a survivor guy. We're all trying to keep the little campfire flame going.
exactly. Yeah. You'd mentioned a little bit ago, making your own stuff, and you've been doing that for a long time, John. If it's okay, could we go back to just a little bit of your origin, where you came
Yeah,
from? Because you've been making films since high school days,
yeah. Before that,
before
although
middle school days,
the
elementary days,
less
since you were in
the less said
toddlers,
about
you were
those things, the
Rugrats.
better. Yeah, like I feel like it's the cliche that so many people get to with like, oh, my dad had a handy cam or whatever, but like that is actually the truth. Like I was a very creative little kid and very hyperactive and was constantly not in trouble in a way that was like disruptive to other people, but in trouble that was like I was always either in the ER or getting sent home. And people like we just don't know what to do with him. And so my parents were like, okay, we're going to put you in every sport imaginable. And I was good and competitive, but I think I was more competitive than I ever was interested or talented. I
Mhm.
was not. But then one day, my dad had this old video camera and it was massive, one of those big ones, and slapped a VHS tape in there and gave it to me and was like, I don't care if you break it, just go do something with it. And, at that time I had just seen Raiders of the Lost Ark, and
Mhm.
I lived in a little suburb outside of Dallas called Richardson, which is now pretty large, but at the time there was really nothing to do. But our house backed up to this massive system of little creeks and woods and forests. And I had a great little group of friends who was game to do anything. And so we would just go try to recreate scenes. I went to a Ren fair, the Scarborough Fair in a little town outside Dallas. It will come to me. I bought a bullwhip that my parents didn't know about, and so would try to whip it up on this like overhang thing and like swing across. And I think I broke a wrist that way. Like we just would shoot stuff to have something to do, and then go on the VCR, and you'd have to rewind and get to the point and kind of cut it like that. And it was never something to take seriously until high school and middle school when I suffered a series of setbacks in sports. Academics were always sort of like second to me. Like I they were never that challenging, but they were never a passion.
Mhm.
And I was really got really into track and field and wrestling, but I kept getting injured and would spend more of those seasons on the sidelines. And the theater director at my high school, who also ran the video tech program, an amazing, amazing woman, Lynn Shaw, who's unfortunately has passed away.
Mhm.
She built this program that was like something out of Glee or something out of a TV show. There was no like the jocks and the nerds and the drama kids. This program welcomed everybody. And so
Mhm.
you would have the high school star quarterback playing a fork in Beauty and the Beast. You would have the lead in Les Mis also, going to state for long jump or whatever it was. And like it was very inspiring. It was a cool time to be that age and exploring that stuff. And so I had an opportunity to do really incredible theater shows, and then also sort of moonlight as the head of the video program at our high school. We had a morning announcements program that my friend and collaborator, who we both know, Sam, ran, and then we had like a creative sort of like SNL shorts type thing where if the dance team was going to have a fundraiser, we would shoot a video to advertise or whatever. And it never seemed like a career. It just was something fun, dare I say, more fun than anything else. And like everybody wanted to be a part of it. So we were never short of resources. At that time, we could check out a camera from the school and walk into like the busiest restaurant in Dallas and be like, "Hey, we're from J.G. Pierce High School. We want to shoot a video." And they would move paying customers out of the way
Wow.
so that we could film there. No permits, none of that red
Hmm.
tape that you and I know all about here. It was just,
Hmm.
it was a really cool time to be creative, and it all just seemed so possible. And right about that time, the 48-hour film project, which is a great organization, had a Dallas chapter. There was the Dallas Film Commission had a 24-hour film project. And so there were these contests that were sort of, oh, you have to level up your game because now you're competing against people of all age groups, and it's narrative and there's some structure. And so we were, my little cohort at that time, I feel we were putting in our proverbial 10,000 hours without really knowing it.
Hmm.
Uh, Making every mistake you could make, but not viewing them as mistakes because it was also fun and the stakes were so low. And then I always thought I would like go get an English degree or something like that. I didn't know what I wanted to do, maybe be a journalist or, hopefully I didn't know of an uncle that had a hidden fortune, but maybe that would happen, something would go my
Right.
way.
Yeah.
That theater director made it seem possible and ended up
Yeah.
actually talking to my parents and saying he can do this. He really can do this and you should support him. And
Mhm.
from that point, sort of senior year of high school on, it was off to the races of like, okay, don't know how, but there's just nothing better in the world, and I'll never forgive myself if I don't try to tell stories in some way. And so it's been hit or miss, but
Yeah.
I'm still in the ring, still taking the hits. And it when a project like Snatched comes along, it lights the fire again. It sort of goes, oh, okay, like it's been a rough. I mean, our industry got hit hard during COVID, and then we
Yeah.
just got on our feet, and then the strikes, the fires. I mean, it's been a bleak stretch of time, but through all that, what's the constant? The storytellers rise to the top, and
Hmm.
and people keep making stuff, and that's the inspiration for me.
Yeah. You mentioned Sam, who is also one of our crew members, our amazing DP who shot
Long
Snatched for
suffering
us.
DP. Sam is
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, Sam's a great guy. So you guys went on and started your own little production company, Bad and Classics. How did that go about, and where is it now compared to where you started? Like, is it at all what like where you like expected to take it? How's that going?
That's a great question, and I appreciate it. The so it actually started out of the 48-hour film project in Los Angeles. There was we were still in school. Sam and I both went to the University of Southern California. He as a film business major, me as a theater major. Um, you can see who is the smarter of the two of us based upon our what our diploma says. Yeah, there was a contest. We entered the contest and had a little idea that was like a heist movie. Two sort of bumbling idiots get hired to kidnap this person for a political campaign, and it was like 7 minutes long. And titles for me, it's either like the title comes immediately or I'm typing fade out on the script and I'm like, I have no idea what this should be called. And I just had Bad and Classic in my head. I thought it doesn't mean anything. It's a great title. There's two guys, whatever. And it just sort of caught on, even though we were called something else at that time. The people that ran the festival would announce us as like the guys from Bad and Classic, or like, oh, the guys from Bad and Classic are back, or whatever. And so when it came time to sort of like legitimize it a few years later, same thing. I'm sitting there like, what's something really meaningful? I'm like looking up quotes from Ralph Waldo Emerson and like, what's a name that's gonna and it was Sam's idea. He was like, why don't we just call it Bad and Classic? Okay, yeah, sure. That worked once. Let's see if it works again. And our ambitions at the time were really just to have a legitimized way to organize our resources to make sure we were taking care of the people that were working with us and for us. At that time, budgets were we would self finance. Would work like you said. I would work catering shifts all summer to pay for to enter and to fund a weekend to do a 48-hour film project or to do a film festival or something like that. And so it was humble beginnings, and at that time, my main focus was still on acting and
Hmm.
really pursuing that. And I was enjoying success somewhat. It was a few feature films, some co-stars, guest star stuff, but every time I would act in a legitimate project, I would look around and be envious of the crew and be envious of the director and be like, ah, it's just more creative control. You know, you can make the decisions. But then every
Yep.
time I
Yep.
would do one of my own projects, I would be like, dang it, I should be acting in this. So
Mm.
we probably stupidly, I'm embarrassed to admit, didn't have any goals when we started, other than again, just like to tell stories that we liked and wanted to have fun doing. But sort of by accident, I sort of stumbled into like very good representation and also a class environment where people were like, well, what, you know, let's see your reel. And I had a pretty darn good acting reel, and they were like, "What is this?" I was like, "Oh, it's my stuff." You know, there'd be one tiny little clip of the 3 seconds I was on some show, and then like really good clips. And they're like, "Where'd those come from?" It's like that's stuff I wrote, that's stuff I directed. For me at that time, that was a consolation prize. It was like, "Well, this isn't real." And
Mm.
little did I know that it was the best training ground, but also, I mean, it built the foundation of what my life looks like now. And as both Sam and I got more established and branched out and did our own projects, people would come back to some of the stuff we shot and say, "What is this?" And so we started shooting reels for other people. We started getting hired to produce and bring to life short films for other people. And it really took off. Strangely, right before COVID, I had just begun an acting class, teaching a class for the first time legitimately, and had built this amazing creative community. COVID hit, the world shut down, and when it became clear that it wasn't going to be a couple of weeks, I panicked. I was like, we got to keep this group together. This was my lifeline. And so we started doing these weekly play readings. Someone would pick a play, we'd cast it from the group, everybody would tune in. And that caught fire for a little while because nobody had anything going on. I think at the height we would have like 50 people tune in from all over the country, like friends of
Hmm.
friends, people's parents, cousins, whatever. And it was like doing a radio play. It was honestly very fun.
Yeah.
Uh, and after a year, just ran out of plays. I had, as a drama student, we ripped through just about everything I had ever read or seen, and was like, what are we gonna do? Okay, we'll do original work. We'll turn it into a writer's lab. So we read a couple of mine, and people would submit original work. Sometimes it was a tiny little short film. Sometimes it was segments of a book. You know, we would
Hmm.
figure out a way to do that. But on one particular night, someone had submitted a pilot script, and the right people tuned in the right night, and we got instant interest in actually bringing it to life. Okay, as COVID is lifting, it's going to be very hard, but you know, people are making things now. Someone wanted to throw some money into the pot, and that ended up being first money in, and it started this odyssey of fundraising for the next year and a half, trying to bring this thing to life. But it was the first time other people wanted to invest in us.
Mm.
And so it was very exciting. And we quickly realized, like, okay, this Bad and Classic thing, you know, at the time it was a DBA, doing business as, it was just an alias. I was sole proprietor. It was sort of like a handshake agreement with everyone. We were like, we need to quickly go back to business school and learn all this stuff. So set up the LLC, went back, made sure all the paperwork was in order, registered it with the state, and not my forte. I many a long
Yeah.
night
Very
combing
hard, very
through
stressful stuff. I
yeah,
I,
like
I co-sign.
YouTube videos, trying to figure out how to stay, you know, on the right side of taxes and stuff like that. But as we started to raise money for this project, a new passion opened up, which really was producing and
Mm.
and and having a hand in the how the sausage is made behind the scenes, more than just what color should the wallpaper be, where should the actors sit and stand. um, it was challenging. It was the most challenging thing I've ever done, but it was also addictive, and it opened up a whole new skill set. And that, I feel like, in conjunction with getting a few other bigger opportunities, we shot a feature documentary for a nonprofit here in Los Angeles that had some success. Those things all sort of coalesced at once, and it was just the sheer opportunity of like, we're taking on more than we can handle, but we will rise to the occasion, that sort of leveled up the company. And now we enjoy working with people from, we shot a music video for a 80-year-old man the other day, a folk musician who
Wow.
Comes from the business world, whose society is a musician. It was an incredible experience. We shot Snatch. We're working on another documentary for that nonprofit and developing a couple of our own narrative projects at the same time. So it's been a prosperous year. It's been a busy year, but yeah, Bad and Classic is doing well, and I never could have imagined that it would have gotten to this place. And I think that if I had, I probably would have messed it up.
Yeah. Well, congrats on your success. I think a lot of it comes from just like you're very uh you're just such a kind soul. You're so like supportive
Thank you.
and encouraging with your words and it's like on set. I like the energy you brought to Snatched. I was like, man, thank God I have John here because I can't be
Thank
everywhere and
you.
I feel like yeah, I'm just so grateful. So yeah, is there any particular like project that you have done that you feel like really like represents you as an artist?
That's a fantastic question. I'll give a somewhat of a cop out answer and say that
Hmm.
all of them, be they super old and cringy or even something like Snatched, which is was not my story and was not my, I was not in the driver's seat. They all contain a piece of me in a way that like my truest passion is contributing to the realization of the story. So I learn from each one. I've learned I some of the roughest experiences. I feel like if you're someone who can go back and analyze and go, okay, what could I have contributed differently, or did I do everything I possibly could have done and it still was not what I wanted it to be? Like you can learn from all of those things. The pilot that I previously mentioned that we had raised money for and filmed sort of coming out of COVID was probably the most formative experience because it was the biggest budget I'd ever worked with. I didn't have to prove myself. I was offered the directing role just based upon the pedigree of other projects. And in a weird way, that felt like more pressure because imposter syndrome was just sitting on my arm like a devil, going, "You
Hmm.
didn't earn this. You don't deserve this. They don't know you're full of crap." Um,
Right.
but
Which is
it
every
was
artist in the world.
Yeah, yeah, but but in the trenches,
I meant we're all full
you
of
feel like
crap.
when are they going to find me out?
Right,
When are
right.
they going to see? But we assembled an incredible team, an incredible cast, and pre-production was really hard. We had a lot of big personalities on the executive side, and those people had contributed not a small amount of money, and they turned out to be very opinionated. And
Mm.
so it was a little bit of the catering mindset of like, okay, like now the client's mad, and how are we going to handle this? And mommy's not talking to daddy, and what are we going to do?
Mm.
And there were times where I thought, this is going to kill me. I'm not going to make it. But we got there. We got the money. We got to set. Our lead actress the night before tested positive for COVID.
Oh my
This
gosh.
was this was not a small amount of money. So I was like, holy crap. In the Hail Mary of Hail Marys, I was like, maybe the test didn't work. Test again in the morning. So she did, and she was negative. And so showed up, shot, she didn't have it. But nobody knew. Our EP didn't know.
Yeah.
Shot for 10 days. It was those 10 days it must be what like a captain in the 1800s on a ship on a new voyage felt like, with just perfect seas. Nothing went wrong. Every
Mm.
single day I would wake up in a cold sweat 2 or 3 hours before the day would start, and I'd be like, what's going to go wrong? Something has to go wrong. Nothing went wrong. The
Wow.
cast was amazing. I got to work with Ed Begley Jr. I got to direct Amy Madigan, who just won an Oscar for Weapons. Like,
Wow.
and then a cast of young people who were new to the craft, playing these theater students. It was about a theater director at a high school who sort of goes on this journey. It was the most formative experience of my life. I got to do the thing. I got to direct a project that had a real budget behind it, not my money, and a real cast of real actors, and it with a crew of half of people I didn't know and half of people I grew up with and loved.
Wow.
It was the coolest experience ever, and I felt truly like, I think I made the hubris mistake. I think I was on the top of Runyon Canyon and I said, I've made it.
Mm.
And that was the point where post-production was the hardest experience. Nobody could agree on anything. And there were creative decisions that were made on set that were retroactively questioned. And it was quite hard. It was quite hard. And I ended up in post-production stepping away from it. And the people who took over were incredible. Sam was one of them. He shepherded it on through the end with actually the lead actress was also incredible. And they sort of came to a solution to fix it. But there's a version of that project uh, sitting somewhere in the bowels of our Vimeo account on a private link that I think represents what I feel I'm fully capable of. And then there's the version that was shown and marketed and had some success in film festivals, and it's still out in the world today, that represents all the culminations of the lessons that I learned. There are so many
Mm.
things that I feel like that has my fingerprint on it, but there are so many things that I'm like, this is what it feels like. This is what it feels like to really have to compromise because the flip side of, oh man, I put all my own money into this is you get all the creative decisions. When you're taking on other people's responsibilities, you also take on their input, which is a beautiful thing. And it oftentimes, I think strife can lead to greater creativity. But in this case, it was like the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and it was some hard lessons to learn. So that project was the most formative. What does the project says the most about me? I haven't made it yet.
Okay. Fair enough. We got a lot of time ahead of us and a lot of great projects to come. So,
God willing, I hope so.
yeah, right. John, you've had a fair number of acting credits on, some TV shows, according to your IMDb. I browsed that a little bit. Is there a project that sticks out to you as like the most fun acting role or like the most fun acting experience?
That is a great question also. So I did a little low budget horror thriller, kind of like sci-fi channel type movie called Thirst.
Mm.
Um, I was flying out to I was flying out to do something in Austin with some friends. I think we were going to South by Southwest to shoot some behind the scenes footage, and this came to me. And the description of the role was really cool. And they were like, it's an alien, and it's this young guy, and I think it said he gets to shoot a shotgun and ride a four-wheeler. And I was like, oh, I have to do that. I auditioned in person in a hotel room right by LAX and felt horrible about it. Got on the plane, was like, whatever, I'm going to go spend a few days intoxicated in Austin and didn't hear and wasn't surprised, but was pretty sad about it and thought, okay, I'll catch hell from my manager at that time when I get back to Los Angeles. And I got back and she was like, you got it. Couldn't believe it.
Wow.
What does that say? We're our own worst critics
You
and
tricked them.
I did trick them, but we're the worst judges of ourselves sometimes. And I think
Hmm.
the nerves and the fact that I couldn't overthink it led to something good. Flew to Utah, filmed for 3 weeks on the side of a mountain opposite like a 15-year-old kid holding a rake with a tennis ball in the end. Nobody knew what the monster was going to look like, but guns, four-wheelers, late night shoots. In the middle of one scene, I'm supposed to be emotional. This character has died. A, a, a herd of wild horses, like 100 yards away, just starts like walking through our eye line. And like nobody even calls cut. It was just this like magical experience out in the middle of nowhere outside of Provo.
Wow.
So that was like, whoa, that was the first time I'd ever been like high on the call sheet and really I feel like had a when you're a co-star or even a decent guest star, you're really there to serve someone else's story. And so there were some
Mm.
awesome experiences on big sets, but this was scrappy. This was the director had written it, he'd financed it. It was a really passion project. And look, do I wish anyone would see it? No, it's super cheesy. Please don't seek it out. Please don't seek it out. But like for who I was at that time, it was everything I wanted to do. It was like getting to be Indiana Jones or Arnold
Mm.
Schwarzenegger from Predator or Terminator. Like it was just so much fun. And I met some awesome people and it was a cast of like some very experienced actors and some people like me who were sort of new to cutting their teeth at it. That was awesome. And
Mm.
then I had a tiny little role on a show called Banshee, which was on Cinemax at the time. And the only reason that anyone would ever know it now is that Anthony Starr, who plays Homelander on The Boys and is like now a big name,
Hmm.
before he was Homelander and before there was The Boys, and I think before there was even Amazon Prime Video, there was a show called Banshee, which is like this pulpy B movie type escaped convict comes back, and I loved it. I loved it. It was like I would somehow pirate it after the seasons would come out and watch it on like 360p resolution on my computer. It was the coolest show because it was action and it was not trying to be Game of Thrones. It wasn't trying to be something massive. And
Hmm.
they got picked up for a final season. There was a role that was originally scripted as being much larger. I auditioned for it. I got it. I'm sure they saw who I was and they're like, well, let's cut it down quite a bit. So they flew me in. And when we went to shoot it, uh, the guy who was on set that day was one of the creators of the show, Greg Yatanis, who, if people look him up, he shot some of the coolest episodes of television. They say never meet your heroes. He invited me to sit with him at the lunch table. Who am I? I'm nobody, right? My trailer is the size of like a bathroom stall. I said I'm a huge fan. I said I followed your work, and could I pick your brain? He's like, come, whatever, come sit down. I get to sit there with Jonathan Tropper, the creator of the show and a very prolific writer,
Hmm.
and the director of the episode, and like ask them questions for 30 or 40 minutes. They were so welcoming. The I didn't get to act with Anthony Starr, unfortunately, but like the other actors who'd been on the show for 4 seasons, in between setups, it wasn't like, okay, going back to my trailer, everybody just hung around. Everybody
Hmm.
hung around and talked and chatted. And that was such a different experience that I had had than other bigger, more popular shows. I was like, okay, this is cool. This is how
Hmm.
I would do it. This is how I want it to be. I want it to feel like, despite the fact that there's a budget and there's stakes and there's visual effects and all this stuff, like it can still exist, that it feels like a family or like
Hmm.
a bunch of friends going out and making something. So that was also very like, despite the fact that I'm in it. We shot this cool death scene. One of the main characters like headlocks me and I'm kicking up the wall and he breaks my neck. It happens off camera. I think they had someone else dub it. You hear like, ooh, and it cuts to me dead on the ground. I was devastated when I watched it, but it doesn't take away from the experience making it. And
Yeah.
uh, yeah, that was an awesome experience. Also, just the community again. It was just everybody was so humble and willing to welcome in this sort of. I'm sure I was annoying. I'm sure I was like, the thing you're not supposed to do is be like a fanboy or fangirl when you get on those sets, but I couldn't help it. I knew it was their last season and I had questions, damn it, and I wanted them
Hmm.
answered. And they did. They
Hmm.
were very kind and generous to me.
Well, I'm sure you were not as annoying as you think you are. As you say, we're all always the most critical of our own selves. So, that's very cool, John. You've had quite the journey thus far.
The miles
Yeah,
are stacking up. I'm feeling them.
yeah,
I'm starting to
yeah.
feel them.
Was there ever a moment where you thought like, okay, time to pivot, I'm out?
Yeah, that's there have been a couple. This segues into probably heavier territory than you want for your podcast. So give me
Oh,
a signal.
yeah, no,
Give me a signal if we get to
wherever
the
you
point
want
where
to
we're
go,
gonna
I'll go, John. No,
bow out of
no
this.
pressure.
But yeah, like I have nothing to complain about in my life or in my childhood, but I always would struggle periodically with these periods of what I now recognize as like pretty severe depression. And I was the oldest in my family, and I was also like the extrovert, and so we just didn't go there. We didn't talk about that stuff. It wasn't that it wasn't welcomed, quite frankly. It was just I didn't feel that I could. And I always thought for a number of years, for a large part of my sort of adolescence into early adulthood, that like that was the price to pay for being a creative person.
Hmm.
Still sort of following that like 1950s actor's studio. I have to be in pain to be interesting. And so these periods of both a lack of productivity, but of I would not see a reason to get up in the morning. I would not see a reason to do anything. And those would frequently happen when things were good. I would be in a great relationship. I had amazing friends. My rent was paid. And it was like these periods of gloom would come over me, and I would think, okay, this is it. This is what artistic lifestyle, has to be. And during those periods of time, frequently I went, I'm not where I want to be in my career. I'm not contributing anything. I haven't written the thing that's on my computer that I wanted to write. I'm spending most of my time not doing the stuff that I want to do. And you get into a shame spiral. And then
Yep.
making matters worse, because I did have this production company and I did have these amazing friends and these collaborators, it was like faking it in the outside world and really saving all that pain and all that sort of self-doubt for the interior world. And there were two times specifically. One was before COVID and one was sort of right after COVID, after that pilot project during post-production, when I just thought, I can't do this. Like, I really can't keep doing this, because what used to seem like exotic and pain is interesting. I thought, this is just not sustainable. And I'm not showing up for myself. And if I'm not showing up for myself, how can I teach a class and ask people to show up for themselves? How can I lead a crew? How can I champion a project? How can I submit a script that I know is not up to snuff because I phoned it in? And both times, thank all the people in my life for putting up with me, and a few real ones, one of whom I am fortunate enough to have gotten to marry, my best friend and the light of my life, Olivia.
Shout out Olivia.
No one let me get away with that shit. No one.
Hmm.
And I called time out. I quit acting class, I quit producing, I quit writing, and I stepped away and made sure the rent was paid and I wasn't letting anybody down. But for the first time, I was like, I have to deal with this. I have to confront this. Nothing will ever be okay, and I will not be able to function at the level that I at least aspire to if I don't deal with this. And so I thought I had dealt with that in like 2017, 2018. Really thought I did. And but it came back, and that was when it was like, okay, I really do need to step away. I really do
Yeah.
need to get right with those aspects of it. And
Hmm.
3 months into what ended up being a pretty intense year-long therapy journey, I thought, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't like it. I don't like the rejection. I don't like the lack of stability. I don't like the flakiness of people around me. Not my friends or collaborators. Certainly not you or Sam or anybody we've discussed. But
Yeah.
it's just, you encounter it. There's just a lot of people that talk about it and not a lot of people that do it. And I felt like Atlas holding up the world, which sounds so self-aggrandizing, but that's what it felt like. I felt like if I
Hmm.
don't get up and be my best self, I'm not going to have a crack at this. And I was not my best self. So I took
Hmm.
like 6 months off, 6 months of, I wouldn't call myself an actor or a director or a writer or a producer. I wouldn't admit to those things because I wasn't doing it. And it was only in its absence that I was like, I miss it so bad. I feel so incomplete without it, but I am now relearning how to have a relationship with creativity
Hmm.
that that is more sustainable and less judgmental, and sort of like constantly now my motto is like, joy is a practice. Like you can't expect
Yep.
life to just make you happy. You have to choose to seek out the positivity. And so the losses can't count as much as the wins, because in what we do, rejection is everything. You could have the best idea in the world and no one wants to read your script. You could give the best
Yep.
performance in the world, but they cut it for time. It doesn't matter. Like the successes have to outweigh the losses 100 to 1, so that you can generate that happiness. And I don't know. I don't know what finally turned the corner for me, but I have since then, since that period of darkness, really shifted gears and have tried to find ways to revisit the mentality of when I was 12 years old with a camera out in the creek making something because it was fun.
Hmm.
Um, the other thing is, like, because we have this community, you and I and all the wonderful people we met on Snatched and all the people I have friends that I knew like since grade school who are out in LA, who are still collaborators of mine. Like, there's so much to be grateful for. There's so much to
Yeah.
be thankful for. And I feel like with the difficulty of the way the world is, and politics of the country and all this stuff, like there's this relentless tidal wave every single day of negativity. And as storytellers, we can mirror that, we can combat that, we can parody it, satire, all that stuff is valuable. There's no perspective that is not worth trying to pursue. But if it is overwhelming your ability to function as a person and be happy, then I would encourage anybody call time out a few days, few months, years, whatever it is to like gather your thoughts, gather yourself, and make sure that like head and heart are in alignment. Um, then you won't quit. You sort of add armor back to yourself, but it's hopefully armor that is keeping the spark of joy alive and not armor that is
Mhm.
keeping the world out, if that makes sense.
Absolutely,
Did any of
John.
that make sense?
To me, that makes a lot of sense. I
Okay.
think that's very relatable to, I mean, I think artists in general, but I think all people can relate to those feelings. Like you. First of all, thank you for your vulnerability as well. It's not
I'm
easy
not
to talk
ashamed of
about.
any of that. I
Yeah,
spent years thinking that that weakness was weakness, and I think weakness is strength. I
yeah,
think that
I agree.
if any of us expect to receive honesty in any form from others, we have to be honest with ourselves and honest with others. And it's like I I had people in my life who when I told them like I'm not doing it anymore, I'm taking a break, I'm in therapy, there was like a look like what's wrong? They were thinking like I was going to jump off a building because the person that they knew had this facade of confidence and joy all the time. And you have to sort of teach people how to treat you. You have to sort of be gentle with them for they don't know what you're going through because you haven't let them in.
Hmm.
So it's a relearning of how to relate to others and how others can relate to you and relating to the world. And the the most liberating thing I think is just being honest about it. If one person who I work with or one person in my class or one person who listens to this goes, well, this guy sounds like he's full of crap 95% of the time, but that therapy thing sounded good. Like good. If you're curious or if you think it might help, go do it because
Yeah.
our generation specifically, we didn't have the benefit of it sort of being as widespread and discussed. And it's incumbent upon,
Hmm.
I feel like if us creative people can't talk about it, who can talk about it? So I am maybe Toluca Lake's biggest champion of like find a therapist that will help you
Well,
because it helped me.
yeah, and I go to therapy as well, and therapy not only helped me, but therapy helped Snatched.
We should tell that story probably.
Yeah, I was in therapy one day, actually not too long before it was like maybe 2 3 weeks before
We were
we
coming
were
down to the wire. We were coming
set
down to
to
the
shoot,
wire.
and we were still looking for a location to shoot our bathroom scene, and we had a couple potential, but they just didn't work. They were too small, or like the vibe wasn't right. I was in therapy just like, yeah, I'm stressed about this, and my therapist was like, you can use our bathroom. and yeah, made it happen, and it was a
Well,
huge.
with some amazing set decoration
Oh,
as
yes,
well.
yes, thank you, Sherry, for
Sherry
what you.
was Sherry gets a shout
Oh,
out. I mean,
Sherry was so
the
good.
the unsung heroes of every project are the people who like help take point A to point C. You're like, okay,
Hmm.
we'll get there, but they take care of point B, and in that case, Sherry was a genius. But that is why I love it. That is why I love it because for a couple of weeks, I remember you and I were texting nonstop. Like there were like three places I was like, I have a relationship. I do karaoke at this bar.
Yeah,
Like I
we
go to
got it.
trivia at this bar. Like
Yeah.
they like me, right? I'm like like showing up at like 3 o'clock when they opened, looking like some sort of like degenerate. Like, hey, can I look at your bathroom? And one by one, because none of these places are independently owned anymore. It was just like it varied from like basically like get the heck out to like, oh, we wish we could, but if we let you do it, everyone's going to want to do it. And I was humbled because I kind of thought like if I can't get us a bathroom, what good am
Who even
I?
are you?
Who am I
Yeah.
if I can't help this production get a bathroom? I mean, we got in that incredible location downtown with the like the bar and the alley. Like to me, the hard
Hmm.
stuff was out of the way. But
Yeah.
when you texted the group and were like, I got us a bathroom, I remember being like, what? You're gonna get my therapist's office. I laughed for days. Anybody who would listen, I told that story. And that is, it's both. That's why we should go to therapy. And it's why we should be nice to everybody because you never
Hmm.
know who's going to unlock the one missing piece. And when that piece fell into place, I feel like a number of pieces fell into place because suddenly it was like the cast was there,
Hmm.
the resources were there. You had done an incredible job securing the budget. And once that piece locked into place, I feel like everybody's brain went from, is this going to happen to, oh, it's happening. And that's a really exciting place to be.
Hmm.
That
I
was
mean,
a really
in
exciting
my
place to
brain,
be.
it was always happening.
Yes, and as it
But
should. And that's true.
but
You were never, it was never hypothetical for you. And that's like, that's why you were the perfect person to lead that project.
yeah, not to say there weren't times like you mean you talk about depression and you talk about giving up. Like there was definitely 2 points where I was like, oh God, I'm in over my head. I cannot do this. And even in the like the production post production, but all like the depression. I mean, I've struggled with that as well. It comes in and out, and
Yeah.
no matter how good you're doing, you can wake up and just feel like, what's the point of all of this? Like, what are
Yeah.
we doing
Yeah.
this for? But we did it. We made it.
We did it. We did it.
Um,
And that's like, that is no small thing. It is a miracle, minor or major, every time anybody in the city completes anything
mhm.
because it's going to get better. I want to say for everybody, it's getting better and it's going to get better. Uh, I believe it's called Program 4.0 that kicked in last July with these tax incentives. Like things will get better, but it is like you could pull out a camera in the deepest, darkest corner of Los Angeles, and the one word that everybody's going to know is permits. Like
Hmm.
everybody wants to shut you down. It is like your production is a bacteria, and the city is white blood cells just coming to attack you. It is a miracle getting things made. And so when
Yep.
you get something made, especially as ambitious as Snatch, I mean, like drag queens, multiple stunt sequences with practical effects, which like hell yeah. Like Kyle again, Kyle, is
Yes.
Kyle doing this show?
We are getting Kyle
He's
eventually.
got to
Yes.
do it. He's
Yeah.
got
Yeah. Hopefully
like
soon.
built the puppet, built the blood rig, all that crazy stuff, all those things. You look at it and you go, "There's no way you can do this in 3 days." Hold my beer. Like we did it, and that is like that was a high coming out of even that middle day where we had that crazy long night. Like coming out
Yep.
of that, you're like, okay. You look at the stills, you look at the dailies, and you go, ah,
Yep.
this is why we do this.
Yeah,
This
that
is
was
why we
one of
do
those
this.
moments. It was about 1, 2 in the morning when I went. I looked. I just felt every single face turn. It was like the most difficult moment of the whole production. I felt every face on me, and I went, I am not qualified to handle this moment right now. And I looked to
But
you
you
and
rose to
Sam.
the occasion.
I looked to you and Sam, and I was like, I need you guys right now.
But that's where going back to the positivity that you mentioned at the top is I've been on a lot of sets where the stakes were much higher and people fold under pressure and become disrespectful and two things happen. First is everybody feels like terrible about themselves or they're afraid, which you cannot function from a place of creativity if you're afraid.
Hmm.
And then also communication breaks down. And that's like
Yep.
that's at the end of the day, okay, it doesn't really matter how you feel. Like you have to make your day and get it done. If you're yelling and shouting or if someone else is yelling or shouting or if there's disrespect happening, you're wasting time and energy. And like that's the one thing you are so good at is communication. You are so good at like not compromising your vision, but compromising and going, okay, I'm okay to take more on because like I know what this can be. And you communicated clearly throughout, whether it was that first day, which was fun and easy and well paced, or that second day, which was like that ranks among the hardest days of my life shooting
It was
because we
very
just had
ambitious.
so much to do,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
was fun,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Hard things
I
can
wouldn't
be
trade a
fun.
minute of it.
Yeah. I wish
Um,
we could have had like, you know, 4 more hours that didn't count towards our day. Like if we could have just like paused time, everybody take a little nap, come back, it would have been nice. But
That would have been fantastic. Or,
in
just
lieu of
a fourth shoot day would have been great as well.
a fourth shoot day would have been great. A fourth shoot day would have been great, but probably prohibitive to the resources and budget. And like ultimately, people frequently will ask me like, what is like directing? What is producing? And it's like, it is a series of compromises.
Hmm.
It is a series of problem solving. Maybe, maybe if you're lucky, 20% is creative. The rest of it is, and I said that to you. I think I said that to you on the first day. You're like, this just feels too easy. And I was like, you need to sit down and make sure you're eating and drinking because, like, there will come a moment where every single person here is going to have a question for you. Every single person is going to want something from you,
Uh-huh.
and you can't take time off. And sure enough, that happens. Someone
Yeah.
needs to know where should that light go? Where's the actor going to be? The actor wants to know what should I wear this shirt because in the other scene I had on this jacket, someone wants to go. Is this the right place in the song? You have to, and it's like you can't. There's no break time for the man in the driver's seat. But you
Yeah.
handled it with such grace, such dignity, such kindness, and such enthusiasm. And so it was not hard for me to also have positivity and enthusiasm and try to build people up because we were doing something fun, you know?
Oh, it was so cool. But the whole, I mean, the ups and the down, the whole thing for me, I've said everyone who asks about it, literally a dream come true production for me.
Well, so for you though, from the genesis of the idea to now where we're at, almost through post production as I understand it,
Hmm.
or I guess almost through picture locking it,
Yeah, we're close.
what has been the what's been the most challenging thing for you, and then what has been the thing that maybe was easier than you thought?
I think the most challenging thing for me, I mean, the fundraising, goes without saying, very challenging. That was one of those moments. Like day two, I was like, "What have I done? I'm in over my head. Let's shut this thing down. This is not happening." And then about 2 a.m. Wednesday night, when we were doing that very complicated scene, which we were like, "How is this supposed to work with the VFX?" And we had a
Hmm.
meeting.
Hmm.
What was it, like the week before, to go over that with Jack,
Yeah,
our other camera guy who does some VFX stuff. And it was like, I want to be prepared for this moment because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this. And it came up, and we're on set, and we're going, how do we make this scene happen? Because we're
yep.
already overtime. Like
Hmm.
we're already like, we have like 4 more hours to go tonight. And that was definitely one of those moments where I felt like time froze. And at one point, I can't remember, I mentioned it earlier, like someone had asked, like, okay, Derek, what are we doing? And I literally felt every single head on set turn to
Hmm.
me.
Hmm.
And I felt like time froze for like a minute where nobody said anything. And they're just waiting for me to answer. And it was probably 5 seconds. I don't know. But um, that was the moment where I felt like the least like qualified, I guess, to be where I was. And I just like didn't know how to lead. Um but other than that, I felt like surprisingly, um like the process of directing, where I've like not officially directed anything like this web series right over here. Like I sort
Hmm.
of like like Sean Willis was my director of that, but I sort of like co-directed with him. I just never like took a directing title.
Sure.
I felt like he and I worked very similar to how like Sam and I worked on Snatched, but like I didn't really know all of the duties of a director at the time. And so like just the entire crew that you guys helped bring together made the process so easy for me because everyone was so good at their job that I just sort of like was like, here's the vision, here's some stills, here's sort of, like I got to set Tuesday, and uh there was a question about how do we lighting this scene, and no one's ever asked me that before. I didn't know, I didn't know, like, oh, am I specifically supposed to tell you where to put the light, or like do you just want general, like I didn't know how specific
Right,
to get
right.
with the direction in the note. So I gave some general direction, walked away, and came back, and it was perfect. And
Yeah. And but that's what I would say is a strength and you're not giving yourself credit for the creative vision that you had, because the deck that you put together was incredible. It
Mm.
like I see a
Oh,
lot of
thank you.
decks. I've made a few decks, and like it is laborious at best, and you're trying to take a script that you're like, why do I have to make you a freaking picture book? Why can't you just read my
Yeah.
script? It's so
Hmm.
frustrating, but the deck was incredible. It jumped off the page, and so that alone, I feel, even if you didn't know you, you get a sense of what this project could be. But then, yeah, like the images, and you put together a very detailed. I will give you those flowers as well, and say a very detailed shot list. And obviously, there were compromises that had to be made, but I mean, you
Sure.
went into it really feeling the beating pulse of the story. And when I have had the privilege of being just an actor on projects, the vast majority of directors, especially directors who come out of like film schools, yeah, they can tell you about lenses and apertures and lights and this and that. This shutter speed. Well, what are the actors doing? They're sitting over there like, what am I supposed to do? I just finished guest lecturing at Arts Center in Pasadena. It's a class of directors who have to take an acting class, and like they are geniuses with the camera and the lights. When it comes to acting, it's like they're dropped into a country blindfolded and they don't speak the language. That's a problem.
Hmm.
That's the problem. The job of the director comes from the theater, and their one job was dealing with the actors. And so the reason you have a crew, the reason you have a good director of photography like Sam, or like some of the other people that I've worked with, like, is to shepherd that vision. You can trust them. You can say, I'm going to go deal with the actors. I'm going to go deal with this other problem that needs my attention. Here's what I want it to feel like. Here's the vibe. Here's this. And I know she's going to come from this door. You give the information that you have, and then you let the craftspeople who are experts in their field help build it with you. That's why it's collaborative and wonderful. I love directors who are like, I don't know what it should look like, but I know how it should feel. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, that we can work with. I know I
That's my
speak that
vibe.
language. When you get to the place of like you're so in the weeds technically, it's so easy to like lose the thread. And like the shot maybe be, how many times have you seen something and you're like, whether it's a movie or TV show, you're like, this shot is amazing, but all I'm thinking about is the shot, and I'm not listening, or I'm not paying attention to the story. I would much rather pay attention to the story. And you had that. I mean, the cast that you assembled, incredible. The crew, everybody was there for it. That's the thing. Is like
Yeah.
you can kind of tell. You said that. I think you asked that. I forget which day it was, but you're like, is it normal for like the crew to be this excited? And I was like, no, no.
Yeah. That's the other
People,
thing I keep telling people whenever they ask me how the production went. I said, it was immaculate because everyone was so stoked to be there. And so it's funny you bring
yeah,
that up. I literally turned to you. I was like, is this normal? And your eyes, you were like, no,
no,
this
no,
is weird. Weird in a
no.
good way.
Nobody's
So,
walking off to like take a smoke break or vape.
mm-mm.
No one's walking off to like make phone calls because like they didn't want to miss what was happening,
Yeah.
because it was fun and exciting. And that's,
Not one person asked me, are we wrapping soon?
yeah.
Did
No,
anyone
they
ask
were
you?
they were asking Nicholas.
They were asking Nicholas.
They were
Okay.
asking, and me, but
That makes sense. That makes
it's
sense.
out of love and respect for you.
Totally.
And
Totally.
that's simply because some of us, I joke about that day. People are like, tell me about that day. I'm like, I got to enjoy rush hour the night before the shoot and the morning after the shoot.
Crazy.
I got to see the sun go down and rise in rush hour traffic on the 101. And that is an experience I will both cherish forever and never want to duplicate.
It was the worst thing leaving set, being stuck in traffic at
It
six
it
o'clock in the
was.
morning
It
trying to get
was like
home.
all you want. I remember being like, I'm not even gonna eat. I'm not even gonna shower. I just want to see the inside of my eyelids. And then it was like
Hmm.
looking at the map going 43 minutes, 57 minutes. Oh, you can save 1 minute if you go 10 more miles around the whole. It's like, oh God. But
Um,
somehow nobody dropped out. Everybody made it back to the end of the shoot. And
yeah.
that's why our victories have to count more than our losses, like the
Wow.
joy of doing it.
John, you're so great. Everyone here should have a friend like John to build them up
Oh,
the way that you build me up. Because you talk about imposter syndrome, and like for me, like the whole time, I'm like, am I a director? Like I don't know much about camera lenses and
you are a director.
equipment and light and all of these things. And that was something I had talked to you about beforehand when you were like, why are you not directing this? You were one of the people that really encouraged me to take it on, and I was like, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know. There's so much I don't know. I've never taken a directing class. I don't know what that means. And yeah, I would not have done that had you not pushed me, I don't think.
I'm thrilled, truly thrilled and humbled to hear that. And if people listening, if someone experiences the same hang up of like, I don't know what I'm doing, you're not gonna know unless you try it and
Yeah.
start with something achievable, whether it's directing or writing or whatever. I have so many young actors who say, I have the best idea. I have the best idea. And I'll say, well, why are you here? Like, go do that idea. Go do well, no, I'm not a writer. But yes, you are. Well, no, I don't know how to write a screenplay, but you audition all the time, right? Yeah. Well, so you know what a screenplay looks like. Well, yeah, but like, I don't have the software. Okay, but you have like Pages, right, on your MacBook or
Hmm.
Microsoft Word or whatever. Well, yeah, okay, so write it like a play or write it like a book or write it in a notebook. Like if I wish I could say in my life that I ever felt like I had the best idea. I'm striving for that. But like if you feel like you have something that you want to do, direct, write, produce, whatever, the only thing stopping you is you.
Hmm.
It's the fear of failure, of coming up short. And that's why community, that's why like surrounding yourself with people and things that like fill your cup. You go in and you go, well, okay, I'll learn more from doing it than from talking about it. That's like
Hmm.
there were a few times when we were going to rehearse something and I was like, Derek, why don't we just shoot the rehearsal? And you're like, okay, we'll shoot the rehearsal, because you learn more from just getting your hands dirty and doing it. And
Yep.
if something goes wrong, so what?
Yep.
And you you will only grow, you, Derek, as a director and as a creative behind the camera. But your passion is never going to be like what lens is on the camera. It's going to be how is the lens telling the story that is like
Hmm.
at the center of the beating heart. And like
Hmm.
that's where I come from too.
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah.
You
Beautiful.
are a great creative. You are an amazing person and friend, and it's been such an honor to get to talk to you. And I I can't wait to see how our little project turns out and how what else you choose to work on next. And I hope you will allow me to be a part of it.
I would work with you again in a heartbeat. And anyone listening to this, if you need help on anything, you should hire John because John's a great person and very
Thank you.
talented. Um,
If you are hearing this, I would love to work with you.
Yes. I want to get through a couple more things, but we are getting close to time, so we're gonna just pick up the pace a little bit,
All
John.
right, let's do
And
it. Let's do
also,
it.
you said something funny earlier. I just want to shout out my dad because you said something about after the long day, you want to get home and just see the inside of your eyelids. I was a very, very little kid, and my dad's always been very into movies. I think that's partly why I'm so into movies, is I've always really enjoyed just watching movies with my dad every time I go home. It's
Same,
one of my
same.
favorite things to do. And I was a kid, and we were talking about, oh, what should we watch or something. I don't remember the exact scenario, but my dad just had said, oh, I want to watch the inside of my eyelids, and I went, oh, what's that about? Over my head. He wanted to
I
go to sleep.
yes, he wanted to
It's
go to
not a
sleep,
movie, but
which
maybe
is
we should
a
do a movie
feeling.
called The Inside of My Eyelids.
There
Full
might be
circle.
one. It would be like French and very artsy. You should make one.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll make it happen. John, I'm going to share some pictures from set. It's one thing I like to do
Yes,
here
let's do it.
on the pod. So if you're watching the video version, you can see some behind the scene pictures. If not, you'll hear us talking about them. There's John and I, day one. In this it was a very kind of bland bedroom that the incredible Sherry and of course our lighting team, Ian and David, everyone set it up to look so beautiful. We're talking through some scenes. um there's John just looking good.
Oh,
And those are the only two pictures I got of you from day one. We were busy.
I was, yeah, I was where I should have been based upon how I was looking. I should not have been photographed.
Oh, whatever, John. And then here's you wrangling our background talent, day two at the
Very, very
bar.
nice background. Yeah. The bar was a
Yeah,
very cool location.
I love how like colorful everything is. That was like
Yeah,
my
it was
main note.
awesome. Yeah,
Um,
and those folks in the background, they were so they were eager to be there. I don't know how many of them had experience doing that, but they snapped right to attention. They were easy to work with, and nobody was doing that background thing where they were like trying to be like seen. They were just happy to be there to tell the story.
yeah, most of them were friends of mine, not actors, and so they were all just like, yeah, excited to be there. And
Yeah,
I was
cool
like, you get to
people.
see Nina West. Um,
This was our holding room, which was the
yeah.
sound stage right next door to the bar, which is a 50s diner that they were kind enough to let us turn into like
Hmm.
prop staging, hair and makeup, extras, background holding.
Yeah, if you're
Um,
directly behind John, there's a door that goes outside, but directly to our left, if we were to go through like that curtain, it puts us
mhm.
literally like right here into the bar location we shot at,
Yeah, yeah.
which is very cool. Too bad we didn't need the diner scene. That was like
I
kind of cool.
know that
We'll have to go
was
back
that
and
was
shoot something
something
there.
that's like it looms large in my mind as I mean not a missed opportunity for this
No.
project, but I have since tried to think about like what could we create that could film there because that this whole complex of locations was very cool and they were so
Hmm.
nice to us. I mean they kind of just gave us the key and we're like we trust you.
Yeah. And then yeah, and then we go outside where we
Oh
had this
yeah.
beautiful little enclosed alleyway. There's John and I next to the dumpster talking about a lot of complicated shots and me trying
This
to
was right
get a
at the
Celsius in
beginning.
me.
Yes, yes, I do remember that. This was right at the beginning because the ground wasn't wet yet. We hadn't wet it down,
Hmm.
but it was
Yes.
cold. It was cold, and this was like right when we had been winding down the performance in the bar. And I
Yep.
think most that's when energy level starts to dip because you're like, oh, we did the thing. And it's like,
Eh,
no, 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 no. This was the warm up for the main event
It was the
outside.
warm, and we were looking like pretty good to on schedule. We were what, maybe like 30 minutes behind schedule at this point,
Yes, nothing,
or like we had
nothing that
kind of caught up. Everything was going pretty
we
smooth.
we yeah yeah. There were certain logistical elements that I was unfamiliar with about the world of drag that took slightly longer than
Yeah.
than had been planned, and it was
It's
all
quite a
worth it,
process.
all worth it.
Yeah.
But um, yeah, we found ourselves. I mean, the crew was moving incredibly fast. You were decisive. Once we got outside, it was like I remember you were finishing up the last couple of shots in the bar, and I went out to go watch this final stunt rehearsal that they had put
Hmm.
together, and like I had to pick my jaw up off the floor. It was like, oh, this is awesome. But then you start thinking about all the pieces that it's going to take to shoot that because it's not John Wick. It's
Uh-huh.
we haven't had 3 months to rehearse all this stuff, and it was like, oh, okay, we need to move at a pretty good pace here. I think that's probably what you and I were talking about was like order of operations at that
Yep.
point because we had to shoot everything out of order.
Yep. And then I love this picture. We're not going to
I
really
haven't seen that picture.
this is a little we're not going to explain what exactly is happening in this picture. However, there is a very fun scene, and this was me and John talking about what's happening and how we're going to shoot it.
I
And
love Sam like voyeuristically looking on in the background, like probably questioning like what the hell are they planning?
I did not even see Sam back there.
Yeah, just
Very
lurking.
funny. Um,
Yeah, that's a great picture. Once people have seen the film, that is a great picture.
yeah, come back and look at this after you've seen it. And then of course,
Oh,
John, well, many talents, and garbage can wrangler.
Garbage Can Wrangler. Another not plot point, but a beat that plays pretty well. But yeah, we needed a trash can to roll across the frame, and
Hmm.
who better but me?
Yep, so strong. And then yeah, we got day three. There's you and Nina in the bathroom. We got some really great pictures of you guys there. I loved this one.
Yes.
And then I had to jump in there, of course, and photobomb.
Yes.
Um, what a gem.
That stuff in the bathroom was sort of, I feel like the reward for all the hard work that the night of day two took because the pace was a lot more relaxed.
Hmm.
And everything is better. Everything is better when Nina West is involved. Like full stop,
Hmm.
period. Anybody who can work with her will be missing the opportunity of a lifetime by not working with her.
Hmm.
So, how can I've got the slate 6 inches from her face. Like the last thing I'm going to do is pass up on an opportunity to take a bathroom stall selfie.
Oh yeah. We'll talk a little bit more about Nina in a minute. I just got a couple more pictures to share. This is John standing in as Sam and I are setting up a shot looking over
Oh
you
yeah.
underneath the stall of the bathroom. Very
Oh
fun
yeah.
shot there. Um, and I think this, I don't know what this was, but John, you were very excited. That's the last picture I have to share.
Oh, I think that was it. I think that was me saying that we wrapped it, didn't we?
Well, I think the photographer left before wrap, so um, because
I
he
wonder
left
what.
a
Well, maybe that I froze for a second, or someone froze. I'm sorry.
yeah, it's okay.
I think that picture was maybe the neck, the your. We won't say anything else, but
Yeah.
you can cut that
Perhaps
part
it
out,
was
maybe.
it was
It
somewhere
was
around
a
something. We don't
cool
know.
thing that happened that
Yeah.
day that is even cooler if you don't know what it is. So I'm not going to say anything
Yeah.
else.
Um, we were talking about Nina West a little bit. And John, I was going to ask you if you've ever worked with drag queens before, if you have familiarity with drag queens. I always like to ask our guests to give a shout out to a drag queen on the pod. So, um, yeah, what's your experience with drag?
This was my first, other than, social media clips or viral clips or people. I have quite a few friends who are well versed in that world and would, show me things, and I have a deep appreciation and certainly now know more people in that community. But when you first told me the idea, I was like, that is awesome. I don't know anything about it.
Mm,
And learning about it and becoming a little steeped even for those 3 days, it was so exciting and so fun. But Nina West is a gem. I
mm.
mean, when you first introduced the idea of reaching out to her team and that whole thing becoming a possibility, of course, the first thing I did was pretend like I knew everything you were talking about and then get in my car and quickly Google it. And I was like, oh my God, no way. Like snowball's chance in hell. Like, this person is like legitimately famous in this world and
Yeah.
successful. And I thought the ego has to be massive and there's no, I was so wrong. And I've never been happier to be wrong. Like the brightest, other than you, the brightest light on set, so humble, so kind, so sweet, so collaborative, and then take after freaking take, so precise.
Hmm.
Just nailed it.
Hmm.
Um, we messaged after on Instagram, and I was like, anytime you're in town for a show, I want to be there. I'll pack the house. Like I am a fan for life. So that's my shout out.
Shout out Nina West. Yeah,
Yeah,
I give Nina praise anytime I can because I've anytime I hear about Nina, everyone only has nice, positive, kind things to say, and you just sort of like assume like, oh, they're just being nice, and then you meet Nina and you're like,
sure.
oh, I get it. She really is so professional, so nice, so humble, so grateful, so loving and kind and talented.
Talented.
Hmm.
She. I forget there was. Oh, it was the little speech she
Oh my
gives, and
gosh.
it was like the first take. And again, you meet someone and you talk to them behind the scenes, it's one thing, but then you're envisioning like what they're going to have to do and perform, and you're like, ooh, like do they have the goods? The first take, I was like, oh wow, we're in really good shape. Like she brought it.
Hmm.
But then in between setups, she like leans over to me and goes, "Is this good?
Yeah.
Like, is it even good?" And I was like wiping a tear from my eye. I was like, yes, it is.
Yeah.
But it
Same.
just goes to show you that we all have this beautiful vulnerability, and like she comes from this world where it's all confidence and pomp and circumstance, but stepping into something that's a little less familiar, we're all looking, going like we're taking cues off of her, and she's just
Hmm.
seeking a little like okay, I'm on the right track. That's the magic of it all. But yeah, she was. I don't why she doesn't have her own series or something. I don't know. It is a wasted opportunity. HBO, Amazon, Apple, if you're listening, you should do it.
Make it happen. She's very busy. She's doing hairspray again, last I heard, and has
Oh, I
some other
saw
stuff
that. I
coming up.
saw that online. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, keep him busy. If you're not already following Nina West, go follow Nina West on all of your
Do
socials.
it.
Yep.
Do it right
Puts out
now.
great content and is a great advocate for all things that are good for the world. Um,
Bright, bright light, and we need that more than ever.
yes, yes. John, I think it is about wrap up time. So,
Okay.
anything else that I haven't asked you about your life or Snatch that you want to add before we wrap?
I think we covered it. I think we covered it. If you get me talking again, we're liable to go
I know
overtime.
we could keep going for hours and hours.
Um,
When Anthony and I
yeah.
rapped the other day, we went on like a whole like 30-minute rant and it was like, ah, we should have just kept recording. And he was like,
Oh,
let's go, turn it back on.
he
So,
would. Yeah, he was funny on set. That I had only just met him that night, but there was immediate vibage happening.
mhm.
Um,
Um, John, you've got you're doing some classes you had mentioned to me at some point.
yes, I teach. I was a member of a studio called the Michael Laskin Studio for many, many, many years. It was my creative home. Michael, the founder and proprietor, he's written a great book. Honestly, I think it's the best book on acting. It's called The Authentic Actor. He recently retired. I was teaching a class for him, but I took over the entire studio, and
Mm,
so we've moved to a new location. We're in Toluca Lake. It's sort of a multifaceted creative space. We have an office, we have two self-tape rooms, and then we have like a main theater stage space where I teach. Right now, it's just one class. I'm hoping to
okay.
expand, do more on-camera stuff. It's scene study, but if anybody is curious about an acting class, or if anybody just wants to come see an amazing creative community, it is an open door. Audits are free whenever you want, and for anybody who's looking for production services or script advisory or just wants to talk about creative stuff, they can find me at redlingercreative.com or batandclassicproductions.com. We're wrapping up two big projects, including Snatched,
Hmm.
and the rest of the year is our oyster. So hit us up.
All right, amazing. Are you on socials if anyone wants to give you a follow?
Yes, I am. I'm perhaps the only person not on TikTok or anything, but I am on Instagram. You can find me at John Redlinger, and you can find Bad and Classic Productions at Bad and Classic Productions.
Beautiful. I'm also not on TikTok, so that makes two of us.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Oh,
we'll
you
make
would
a
crush
club.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
What?
would crush it.
Okay, if you say so.
At, at my age and crustability, people like I
At
was just
our
down at
age,
Chapman University, and like one of these like 19-year olds was like, "You'd be really funny on TikTok." I was like, "Yeah, would you watch it?" They're like, "Well, not me, but like
but like
other
my
people." I was like,
grandpa.
"No, that tells me everything I need to know right there. No, that ship has sailed. I'm happy waving at it from the shore."
Sure, sure. Well, John, thank you
Thank
so
you for
much
having me.
again for your
Sincerely, it's
time, for
been
your
an
talent.
honor.
Yes, great chat, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
I will see you soon. And
Beautiful.
who else who are you speaking to next for this?
I don't know. I don't have another thing scheduled. I'm working on a time, hopefully with Sam soon. Kyle. Hopefully we can get Nina up in here, and yeah, then the rest of the crew. I had sort of put out like an email to everyone, being like,
Nice.
"Hey, let me know if you're interested." And now it's time to follow up and start bugging everyone. So
Well, as a fan of yours, I will look forward to tuning in to theirs.
beautiful. Well, and as a fan of
All right.
yours, I'm gonna re-listen to this every time I start to feel depressed and lonely.
As will I. Love you, man. Thank you.
I love you too. Have a great day, John, and everyone out there. See you next time.